Hello everyone and welcome to A Slice of My Life. It is mail call time all the way from the US of A from a man named Janis Andersons, but via the one and only Speedytech Solutions. Yes guys, it's from Speedytech. And you guys already know by now because it's been about a month. Yes, shipping took that long. It's been about a month, okay? That Speedytech did a review on this, and he mentioned in that review video that he'll be sending this over to me. So if you guys have not watched that video, I've done you a favor and put links in the video description below. If not, I've also added a card in the corner of this video. Please take a moment to go check it out and then come back here, okay? Because there's some information in there that you guys should watch before I go ahead and crack this open, alright? You done? No, really? Just go ahead, check it out, really. I'll wait, okay. 3, 2, 1, let's go. Well, that's cool. Gary actually taped this can down in case it might pop open during transit. So nice touch, man, Gary. Good call. Also, there is a Torx screwdriver. It is a T6X60. I don't know, but it's a T6 size Torx screwdriver that's included in this. And I've been told by Janis that while this particular tool will not be included, there will still be a tool included in the package when you order or receive your Fission spinner. Yeah, I didn't even mention the name of the spinner, guys. I apologize. The name of this spinner is the Fission Spinner V2. So let's check this out here, and it apparently is a screw-on lid, and I don't know what the actual packaging is. There are a lot of details that are still being finalized as we speak. Oh, very nice. Wow, what is that? Oh, I see. So there's a core in here. That's cool. There's a core included. Sweet. There's extra screws in here, and this, everyone, is the Fission V2. You can see it's in a tri configuration right now. Gary did mention that he was gonna leave me to show you guys the bar version, so I guess I'll do that in a little while. Just gonna quickly go over some of the details of the spinner before I change it into the bar form. So it is clearly in stainless steel, and this is a 608 set of buttons because this holds a 608 bearing. You guys can see that. So it's been a while since I've actually messed with a 608 spinner, and let me tell you that the feedback from a 608 bearing is completely different from an R188 bearing. Like, seriously guys. And you can see that there are the Torx screws right here. These apparently are a huge improvement from the V1. Now, I've never handled the V1, so I'm gonna take this from a very fresh perspective because it's the first time I'm actually seeing a Fission spinner. So clearly you guys can see it is a completely modular design. Now with the extra arm over here, it means that this can be set up in a quad style or a tri style like this, or just having two arms to make it into a bar style. And let me tell you something, this mirror polish is awesome. Yeah, it's got some scratches and all that, very minor scuffs, but you know, mirror polish, guys, super fingerprint magnet, but it's just super reflective at the same time. Just look at that shine. This is nuts, man. And if I really wanted to get rid of all these little scratches and little scuffs, all I gotta do is just get some polishing agent and just polish away. I can use my Dremel, or I can use my finger and some elbow grease or whatever. My finger? Why did I say my finger? My hands. But yeah, this resonance, guys, is really different and very, very cool. It's a very, very nice feedback from a 608 bearing, and just look at the reflections, everyone. It is, wow, just like a whirlpool of stuff. So this is really cool. Oh, I got high expectations for this right now. This is actually pretty good. Sweet. So I think I'm gonna keep it in the 608 bearing for a little while before I actually change it over into the core, because you know, the core actually gives a very, I guess, a very commonplace kind of feedback because it's using R188 bearings. But because I know that a lot of you are actually fans of the SBV2 or the one drop bearing or what have you, and for me, I'm actually a fan of the super line of bearings. But yeah, I mean, SBV2s are awesome as well, but this only 608 bearings make that kind of sound and resonance. So right now, guys, without further ado, let's change this into the bar form because I know you guys have been waiting. Since Gary was kind enough to show everyone the quad version and transforming it into this tri version, I'm going to transform this tri version into a bar version because he left me the honor, and I really appreciate that. Thank you, Gary. So it's really simple, everyone. Just grab your Torx screwdriver. It doesn't have to be this one, it could be any other Torx screwdriver, and just undo the Torx screws. Now there are 3 here, because there are 3 arms, which is quite cool because the number of Torx screws you will use correlates to the number of arms that you're going to use. So we just have to remove one, which is just, well, that was really simple. That was really simple. Wow. So what I'm going to do now is just, guys, that's really simple. What the hell? So grab this Torx screw right here, pop it in there. And I'm gonna tighten it down just a bit, not too much, okay, not too much. It's very loose. Then grab another Torx screw and then tighten that down. Yep, make sure I get the threads correct. And then once it's there, then I'll start to tighten it all the way in. Just like, guys, that was super simple. What? There we go. Bar style, everyone. Oh, I love this. Okay, I'm gonna throw the buttons right on. I'm getting goosebumps right now. Skingasm, everyone. Yes, skingasm. I know you guys want me to say that, okay? Alright. Look at that, guys. This is cool. Simplistic, minimalistic. Cool. Flat buttons for now. I don't know if I'll change the buttons. I think I will because the buttons are kind of flat. And so far, it feels really like, it feels like titanium even though it's made of stainless steel. But the resonance, everyone, you cannot deny that sound. Listen to that. It is a bit long, very reminiscent of the older style 608 spinners. But you know, it's a very welcome thing, I guess. Since everything now, almost everything I should say, is all made in small sizes and it's all going to be R188 bearings or even smaller. But it's very nice, it's very refreshing to actually have a 608 spinner as well as a 608 sized spinner, I should say. Not even just a 608 bearing, but a 608 sized. But that's cool, man. So guys, you know the deal. I'm gonna put this on my EDC for the next week or so, and during that week I will be swapping out the different configurations. I'll be having it in the bar, and then the tri, and then the quad version, and then, you know, coming back here and sharing with you guys all the information. The only thing that I will say is that the first impressions are pretty cool. Really easy to change up the configuration, and I was really surprised. I initially thought that it would involve a lot of like twisting and kind of like squeezing it in place and trying to hold it down while screwing everything, but no, this was really simple, everyone. Like, crazy simple. Oh, you know what? I actually have another 608 button right here, just for fun, everyone, because this one is a little bit flat, kind of sleek, but this one is way thicker and more raised. So let's see how this works out. There we go. Can it work with this spinner? Can it work? Oh, I guess not. Dang it! It's touching the frame. Oh well. I guess it's because it's raised up here. So it has a lip that actually covers the 608 bearing. So it makes it a little bit thicker. Most of the time when we talk about 608 bearing spinners, usually there's nothing really holding or clamping down onto the bearing itself. Generally it's just the bearing alone, or it's completely exposed on the top and the bottom. So that's why tolerances are kind of different in terms of the old style 608 buttons. There we go. Alright everyone, let me do my thing with this little baby over here. But before I go to the next part, once again at this point of time, quick shout out to Janis Andersons as well as Gary Speedytech of Speedytech Solutions and of the Daily Fidget. And of course everyone, links in the video description down below to all of the relevant places that I'm going to link in this video. But yep, alright, catch you on the next part of the video.
2,000 years later.
I am back after spending quite a lot of time with this guy. Now, I say this and I have two in hand because, well, I took advantage of the fact that you could turn into a bar spinner and the fact that I had 4 arms, so I just made 2 bar spinners because I wanted to try the difference between a 608 bearing and a 188 bearing. So yeah, I also spent time doing that as well. So there is going to be quite a lot to talk about, so I will just mention everything as quickly as I can and keep everything as concise as possible. So in the bar form, guys, I will start off with the bar form since I have it here right now. Unfortunately, the bar form is the form that I like it the least in, simply because look at the way it's designed, right? It's kind of tapering inwards like that. So I don't really get a satisfying flick every time I'm pushing forward. Because I feel like it needs to be extended outwards this way or tapering outwards, so it gives me like a wall for my finger to push on. But this one forces me to kind of press my middle finger inwards towards my index finger, kind of like having the pressure in this way, which makes it a little bit uncomfortable. But pullbacks are a little bit different. There's two different textures, if I want to say that, like sensations. I can't really find the right word I want to use, but I guess I want to say like it's kind of 2 different feelings or 2 different positions or textures, or so I guess I'll just show it to you guys instead of using words to explain it to you. Now the first way is of course to have your fingers on the side. Now this is actually pretty comfortable, even though it is a pronounced edge. Having your finger, middle finger and ring finger to perform a preloaded flick like this is actually pretty good. It feels nice. You are able to just apply a lot of pressure and get a good strong bam pull out of it. Now the next one is when you have your middle finger up here. Now this is rounded, even though it is like almost touching the button, as long as you don't get your finger in between everything. But on the outer edge right here, because it's so rounded, and even though the screw's right there, it's not sharp. I mean, if you really wanted to, you could just flip it over because this side is flush, you see. But I'm showing it to you guys on the side with the screw because I want to prove to you that it doesn't really hurt. Now, if you get your finger up here, see that? You could use this as a leverage point and then give it a nice pull as well. So it's two different feelings altogether, two different... What's the word, guys? I'm just not able to find the right word, but that's basically how I feel about this thing as a fidgeter when you're doing preloaded flicks. So that's not bad. It's just the push forwards that I'm a little bit disappointed with. The next thing I want to mention, and this is going to be across all different configurations, that this particular design, this skeletal design, also means that this slot is very, very prominent, I guess, very pronounced, very prominent. So there is a high chance that you might get your finger snagged in there, and if you're not prepared for that, well, you could potentially hurt yourself, I suppose. Like, there are a couple of times when I realized I was fidgeting with my fourth finger, and then I got my fourth finger stuck inside, and I pulled it back, and then I snagged myself this way. So that, yeah, right, like that. Yeah, sorry, I'm kind of doing some weird hand gymnastics here to try and show you guys this angle, but yeah, that actually hurts on the off chance that you get your finger stuck in there. And like I said, this is not limited to just the bar style, it is across all configurations. So for the bar style, it is my least favorite because I don't really get a satisfying push out of it. When we switch it up into the middle finger and thumb grip, pushing forward, pulling back, everything is okay. Just that the fact that you have to remember that this is a slightly longer bar spinner. So in terms of length, you're gonna have to pull your index finger further away to prevent the spinner knocking yourself like that whenever you pull back, because we are, I guess at this point of time, kind of used to smaller size spinners. Now if you land your finger up here, that's perfectly fine because you can just easily do a pull back. See? Oops, I missed it. So yeah, easily do a pull back, and it's quite easy to stop and have your finger up there. See, I'm just getting it most of the time. Oops, I missed it right there again. Sorry guys. Performance anxiety, you know what I mean? But push forwards though, you're not really able to get a nice slam, I guess, like a nice kick out of it, because this thing is just so tapered inwards that by the time you get it here, it feels like you're just kind of like knocking the edge, kind of like that, see? So push forward's not so satisfying unless you're pulling back really quickly and then pushing it forward as the spinner moves backwards to meet your finger. So only if that happens. But apart from that, this is actually really, really light. Like, it's one of the lightest bar spinners I've tried so far. It feels like an aluminium spinner, it feels like a titanium spinner, but nothing like a stainless steel spinner because of all this huge gaping holes and the skeletal design and the modularity and everything. So yeah, that's it. It spins very, very fast. It spins very quick, but it also loses speed really quickly as well. Now this is the 608 version, and actually I gotta be honest and say that for this particular, I guess, construction, I enjoyed in the 608 version much more than the 188 version, because for some reason the 188 version just, I guess maybe because the spinner is a little bit too light, I don't really feel the same kind of characteristics that I get out of, say, for example, using an SB-V2 on another bar spinner. Yeah, it's kind of, and you can hear that kind of disgusting gyro effect. I mean, this one doesn't really work nicely, you know. Sometimes you have a bar spinner that actually has a nice gyro effect. This one makes the whole spinner feel kind of janky, kind of clunky, because you feel it kind of like wobbling, all the bearing play and stuff. So that's not satisfying at all to me. Like, unfortunately, it is not. Like, I am a fan of R188 bearings and I'm a fan of using cores and stuff, but for this particular application and for this particular spinner, I think I would just stick to the 608 version. Yeah. The next thing I want to mention, and this is also going to be across the board for all configurations, is that the buttons that came with this 608 configuration is very, very flat. And although it is raised to the point that you have enough clearance between the buttons and the frame, it still feels kind of, I guess, really too flat. It's just too flat. I'm sorry guys. Like, I guess maybe because I'm spoiled right now, spoiled for choice or spoiled by experiences, the fact that I really like buttons with some kind of extra grip, like a concave or some design on it. These are just plain circular buttons with a single thin lip. It's not even very raised at all, so it doesn't really offer a lot of grip, and it is kind of flat, so I don't feel like a very satisfying hold. I know this is kind of strange, but I guess I want to feel like I'm having a nice time holding a spinner in my hand. You know what I mean? Like, holding a spinner is part of the entire fidgeting experience as well. So this one is just kind of flat. Now the buttons used on the one with the core is what I believe to be like plain spinnetic buttons. So they're just slightly concaved and that's it. Like they're not very wide. They are about like 19 millimeters wide. And the reason why it's 19 millimeters wide is because, let me just undo the buttons on both and then you guys can see for yourselves. Because the arms actually have a lip on the edge right there. So you need buttons that are able to fit within that inner ring of their lip, which means that the 19mm ones are just perfect, see? So you're not able to use buttons that are wider than 19mm for this, which is unfortunate. You know, there's no way you can use 22mm buttons. And for this one over here, I tried with another 608 button. Like this one, you can see is much wider and the concave is much deeper. And of course, it is much taller as well. But these buttons don't fit. And that's because the buttons that Janis provided actually have this lip on the inside that raises it above the lip of the arm right there. So it sits above that, so it gives it enough clearance to spin freely. So this is almost like proprietary if you're talking about the 608 version. For the 188 version, there is a solution that has been recently released. It's not even a solution by Janis himself. It's kind of like a discovery. You all remember watching my Damn Designs button update, right? So we have the gyre buttons here. Gyre buttons. These buttons are the extra set of buttons that were released along with the Schism and Psionic spinners. And let me show you that it works on this particular spinner very, very well. It's like as if this spinner just really needed these buttons. So maybe future possible collaboration between this Fission spinner with some Damn Design stuff. I don't know. But look at that, guys. It's the perfect kind of clearance. See, because of that dishing upwards there, just brings the button away from the spinner frame and allows you to have some really, really wide buttons. And this changes the entire feel of the spinner because these buttons were, I mean, although they are concave, these buttons were or are actually kind of flat and kind of low. And well, these are like buttons that were released early on in the game, like early 2016. So you guys have to understand that it worked very well during that period of time, but now things have advanced so much that you need buttons like these, I guess. But yeah, I mean, you guys, now you know, I've already told you about the bar version. Let's just change it up into the next setup, okay? And so the next configuration I want to show you guys is the quad configuration because you've seen it before, number one, and because it is my second most favorite configuration to have this spinner in. Now the Fission V2 feels actually pretty good as a quad spinner. The only reason why it's not my favorite is because these areas over here are actually pretty sharp, as you can see. Yes, they are not flush with each other. There is, you know, an upper and a lower arm, but then because of the sharpness over here, there's no like curvature for your finger to rest in comfortably. It just feels kind of sharp. Like you feel like a very, I guess, a very tight point of contact, like just very little all the time. But it doesn't take away any fidgetability in terms of performing flicks. Like you could perform like forward flicks or like pullbacks, or you could have your index finger pushing forward and pulling back. And with this configuration, it feels much better than in the bar version, simply because now there is some real estate for you to land your finger here or rest your finger here and up here as well when you're pushing forward or when you're pulling back. Oh, see what I mean by you have to pull your finger far enough? Like that, yeah. See, because I'm not used to it, guys. Sorry. This is still actually pretty long. You know what I mean? Like in terms of the size of it, it's still, yeah, you know what I mean. It is very comfortable this way. I like it a lot and it feels a lot more hefty in this setup, to the point that I prefer the 188 version of this versus the 608. Of course, if you like that sound that the 608 bearing gives, I know there are a lot of 608 bearing fans, then use the 608 one. But this is good. Well, I've made myself like it even more because I'm using the gyro buttons from Damn Designs. These are just a little bit too small, a little bit too flat. So yeah, with the gyro buttons, you get a lot more grip and you get a lot more real estate for you to have your finger resting on, because I hold my spinners in a flat grip like that. Of course, over extended periods of time, you might feel some finger fatigue if you have your finger up here in this corner right here, and then you keep pulling back like that and you rub it down here on the side. Well, over time, it might cause you some finger fatigue, because I have honestly snagged myself a couple of times in this particular setup doing pullbacks. It is very rare, of course, but it has happened, so I'm just sharing it with you guys as well. But this actually is pretty nice. It's a pretty good fidgeter in this form because of the weight, but not for the size. Like it feels kind of too big. See, it feels kind of large for a quad. Like it's just, yeah, you know what I mean? And before I move on to the last configuration, which is the tri configuration, I want to mention that if Janis only provides 4 screws, you want to make sure that you have the screws only in the middle or the inner slot. If you have it on the outermost slot, then well, let me just show you what happens, okay? So now we have the screws on the outermost. Yes, if you look at it carefully, it is the outermost screw port on the arms. This could happen, look. I mean, unless that's something you want to go for, you can have a non-symmetrical or asymmetrical cord. You could have something that would move around, I guess. Or maybe just another dimension of fidgeting when you have it in your hand. Kind of like, I don't know guys, just like that, like that. I mean, whatever floats your boat, right? So you could spin it this way. Doesn't take away anything much actually, because it's not a lot of movement, just slightly. But you kind of like change the symmetrical-ism. I'm sorry, I'm just making up stupid words. But you change the symmetry of it, and well, it doesn't change the way it spins in hand, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's kind of like almost like a more bar version of a quad spinner, but basically that's what happens if you have the screws on the outside. So maybe Janis knows about this, maybe he doesn't know about it, you know, but just letting you guys know that I messed with it enough to figure this out. Moving on, and this is my favorite configuration of all of the configurations that the Fission V2 has to offer. It is the tri configuration. It's a little bit large, yes, definitely something that I cannot ignore and cannot deny, but it feels good in hand, I suppose. Like, I can't really say it's fantastic, but it's my favorite out of the three configurations, you know what I mean? This is, at the end of the day, a pretty good spinner with good modularity, but it's not like the best, and right now it doesn't feel that fantastic, like honestly, but that modularity is something that you'll be looking for. And well, if you want to get the spin, it really is for the modularity, right? The fact that you could change up the bearings that you want to use, the fact that you could change up the number of arms you want to use, and well, it looks pretty sleek and very clean, if you ask me. I haven't seen the V1 before, but I've heard that the V1 actually has screws that were sticking out and everything, but this one's actually pretty well done. Now, you actually have screw ports on one side, and I didn't mention this earlier on because I just wanted to keep it to the end of the video, and on the other side is completely clean. Now, because it's so polished, it is very, very prone to small scratches, small little nicks, and you just basically have to buff it out every once in a while, but you can see all these small little scratches over here, and yeah, these were actually just, I guess it just happened to appear over time, you know, just as you use it, you know, things can't just stay polished all the time. So just basically get some kind of a buffer or some kind of metal polish and just polish away, you know what I mean? Just buff out all the scratches and thing will be looking like brand new. Now, the reasons why I like it in the tri version is because one, it's got good enough heft that you could have it in either the 608 version or the 188 version and it wouldn't feel out of place. Number two is because then these gaps now over here, they are wide enough and comfortable enough to be almost like a curve for your finger to rest in there, and at the same time not too sharp, and it's not like it's tapering inward all the time. So basically it's a good balance in between, and this is actually just really, really nice. Like, you could have your finger here, pull backs, push forwards. You could have your fourth finger here, just push forward, pull back, or just changing it back up to your index finger and thumb grip, and then just pushing forward or doing preloaded flicks, and even preloaded flicking from this point up here. It's not a problem. The only gripe or the only issue that you really have to take note of is if you land your finger on the exactly like that, guys. See, this is what happens if you have your finger landing on the inner slot. Then ouch, damn it. Okay, so this is something new. I haven't experienced this before, so this is the first time I'm experiencing it, and this happened on camera, so I'll just talk about it. Basically, what I believe happened was that my finger was here, and as I pulled back, my fingernail went in, and when I just did a flick, I kind of jammed this edge against the top of my fingernail, kind of like this. It was in this angle, so yep, I had that jam right there, and it didn't feel very good. Like, okay, it didn't hurt, it's just that my reaction was to say ouch, but it didn't feel good, you know. Oh, okay, I did it again. So yeah, that's one thing that you guys have to take note of if you are, you know, just doing a lot of preloaded flicks on this particular spinner, especially those who have fingers that are more slender than mine. If you have thinner, more slender fingers, or if you have what some people will call bony fingers, then you got to be careful, because I foresee that that might be more of a common occurrence to you than for me, because my fingers are actually kind of meaty, as you can see. Although yes, I don't really have very large hands, but it's something that I have to point out. And that's about all I have for the fidgetability of this particular spinner. Now, apart from that, there isn't really much that I have to share with you because I don't have a lot of information. The thing about it is that Janis himself doesn't have a lot of information, because everything right now is in kind of like a state of, I won't say limbo, Yeah, so I guess maybe everything is just kind of iffy right now. Now the first run of this, if I'm not wrong, the first run of the Fission spinner was about $110. Now there's no official pricing yet released for the V2, and he doesn't even know if the V2 will actually be made for commercial sales, you know what I mean? So if you guys are interested, well, what I will do is I'll put links in the video description down below into the Facebook group that Janis runs for the Fission V2, and then I believe that he'll just update there. I'm sure he will, you know what I mean? Like, all information should be released there. If not, then, you know, you could just hit Janis Anderson up, I suppose. Just speak to him directly and see if there's any that he has on hand that he could sell to you. I don't know, but this one, guys, right here is a prototype. You guys already know because you've already seen Speedytech's videos. Speedytech himself also mentioned that this is a prototype. So, you know, not to take away anything from the actual retail version, but I believe that this is actually pretty good for prototype already. The retail version might be a little bit more polished than this, I'm hoping it would be. But I guess my biggest feedback to Janis would be that I wish the buttons were a little bit bigger and a little bit taller for both versions, the R188 as well as the 608 version, especially for the 608 version, because it's very difficult to find buttons that are compatible for this particular spinner for 608 bearing because of this lip over here and that lip on the arms, this one over here. Yep. For the R188 bearing, you guys know it's using a core. So if you have access to the gyro buttons, if not, you can get it on Damn Designs. I'm not plugging them, I'm just sharing with you guys. Okay, you just grab it off them or their website, and they work very beautifully for this particular spinner. I think this is a wonderful, wonderful pairing, and I mean, I'm not going back from this. And that's about it, everyone. I think that it's pretty good for Fidgeter. It really depends now on whether or not you like the design and whether or not the price point is worth it. If it is about $110, I'm gonna be honest straight out and say that I will not buy this for sure, because $110 for this is a little bit too expensive, because if anything, I'll be buying it for mainly its modularity gimmick. And I think that is a little bit too big, but maybe, just maybe, Janis could consider making a solid version that has no cutouts, you know what I mean? I mean, he's already got this design down, the arms and connectivity down. You just have to fill this part up, and I think that would be really, really good, because this one, I actually found myself snagging my fourth finger quite a lot, and you guys already saw that I snagged my middle finger on camera twice at least. And also, of course, it'll make the whole spinner a little bit more hefty. All in all, I think it's a pretty good spinner. The modularity is really, really spot on. This way of doing things is really, really sleek. Very nice. I mean, like, look at it. It's just very, very nice. The whole thing flows like it's seamless, and I think that it's a job well done in terms of that. So Janis, good job on that front. And the buttons, well, they need a little bit more improvement. And if this ever goes on sale, well, basically Janis said that he would be, of course, including one of these kind of Torx screwdrivers. I mean, maybe not this exact Torx screwdriver, but a Torx screwdriver just in case, because Torx screwdrivers might be a little bit difficult for some of us to come by. You know, here in Singapore, Torx screwdrivers are just stupidly expensive. Trust me, okay? You guys have seen my Torx keys, right? Those hex key kind of Torx screwdriver set. That cost me a freaking $60, man. Like, yeah, it's just not worth it. That's it, everyone. Thank you so much for sharing in this slice of my life. This was the Fission V2 by Janis Anderson. Of course, links in the video description down below. I mentioned that before already. But I think about it, I think it's okay. Just modularity-wise, it's great. Apart from that, it's an okay spinner. And I'll catch y'all in the next slice of my life. Gaga Boost!